I'd spent 37 years as a high school principal in Portland, Oregon. Retirement suited me. My husband Richard and I lived in a craftsman-style home in the West Hills, the kind with a view of Mount Hood on clear days and a garden I'd finally had time to tend properly. We'd raised 2 daughters here. We'd celebrated anniversaries, weathered my mother's death, survived his heart surgery. 39 years of marriage. I thought I knew every corner of our life together. That Thursday morning started ordinary enough. Richard left for his volunteer shift at the hospital auxiliary at 8:30. He'd retired from his cardiology practice 3 years earlier, but he couldn't stay away completely. I was at the kitchen table working on my book club discussion notes. We were reading The House of Mirth that month, and I'd volunteered to lead. His iPad sat on the counter. He'd left it charging overnight and forgotten it in his rush to leave. I noticed it when I got up to refill my coffee. The screen lit up with a notification. "Good morning, handsome. Last night was absolutely incredible. My body is still tingling. When can I feel your hands on me again?" The message was from someone named Sage. A little green heart emoji sat next to the name. I stood there holding my coffee mug, reading those words again and again. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd always imagined if something like this happened, I'd shake, I'd cry, I'd feel my heart shatter in my chest. Instead, I felt cold. Perfectly. Crystalline cold. I picked up the iPad. No passcode. Richard had never been secretive about his devices. Why would he be? I was his wife of nearly 4 decades. I opened the messages. The thread went back 6 months. 6 months of good morning, handsome, and can't wait to see you, and photos. Dear God, the photos. A woman in her 30s, I'd guess. Long blonde hair. Yoga poses in front of mirrors. Some of the photos left very little to imagination. She taught hot yoga at a studio downtown. That's where they'd met. Richard had started going to yoga classes after his cardiologist recommended it for stress management. I'd encouraged him to go. I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, started taking screenshots. Every message, every photo. 6 months of evidence. "Tuesday mornings are perfect," he'd written. "Margaret has her volunteer work at the library. Tuesdays, when I cataloged donations, when I thought he was at physical therapy for his shoulder. Thursday afternoons, she goes to her book club prep at the coffee shop." Another message said, "Thursdays, when I'd sit at Stumptown Coffee for 2 hours, making notes, giving him peace and quiet at home." Except he wasn't home. According to the messages, he was at Sage's apartment in the Pearl District. The messages were disturbingly detailed. Times, places. A hotel in Cannon Beach last month when I'd been visiting our daughter in Seattle. The text from that weekend. "Margaret's away seeing Emily. Come to the coast with me." And Sage had replied, "I'll pack the lingerie you like." I'd called him 3 times that weekend. He'd sounded normal. Asked about Emily. Asked about our grandson. Said he missed me. My coffee had gone cold. I heated it in the microwave and sat back down. Thought about our mortgage burning party 5 years ago. The cruise we'd taken to Alaska for our 35th anniversary. The vow renewal ceremony we'd had just 2 years ago, right here in our garden, with our daughters and grandchildren watching. Richard had cried during his vows. I'd thought they were tears of happiness. I went to his computer in his study. He kept his passwords in a little notebook in his desk drawer. Another thing he'd never hidden from me. Why would he? His email showed receipts from hotels I'd never heard of. Jewelry purchases, flowers, not for me. A recurring charge to a boutique downtown where I'd never shopped. I clicked through. Designer lingerie, sizes much smaller than mine. I was thorough. That's what 37 years of running a high school teaches you. Document everything. I'd dealt with enough cheating scandals among students to know how to build a case. I found his credit card statements. A pattern emerged clearly. Tuesday mornings, coffee at a place near her studio. Lunch at intimate restaurants. Thursday afternoons, charges at her apartment building's parking garage. My hands still weren't shaking. I called our lawyer, Patricia. We'd been friends since our daughters played soccer together 20 years ago. She did estate planning mostly, but she'd know who to refer me to. "Margaret, are you all right?" she asked. "You sound strange." "I need a divorce attorney," I said. "The best one you know. Someone who handles complex asset division and infidelity cases." There was a pause. "Oh, honey." "I'm fine," I said. And the strange thing was, I meant it. I'm perfectly fine. I need someone who can move quickly. I want this handled before he knows what's happening. Patricia gave me a name. David Chen, former prosecutor turned divorce attorney. I called him immediately, sent him the screenshots. He called me back within an hour. "Mrs. Morrison, this is very clear-cut documentation," he said. "Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of infidelity can still impact asset division, especially given the financial resources he spent on the affair. How do you want to proceed?" "Fast," I said, "and I want everything documented before he destroys evidence." We talked for an hour. David explained the process. We'd need to file, serve him papers, start discovery. He recommended a forensic accountant to trace all the expenses. I authorized everything. Then I did something that surprised even me. I opened the iPad again. Typed a message to Sage as Richard. "Can't stop thinking about you. Margaret's book club is having a special meeting this Saturday at 2 p.m. She'll be gone all afternoon. Want to come over? I'll have the house to myself." The response came within minutes. "Your place? Are you sure that's safe?" "She'll be ours," I typed. "I want you in our bed." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "God, yes. I've been dying to see where you live. What's the address?" I sent our address. My hands were steady on the screen. "Wear that blue dress I love," I added. "The one that's easy to take off." She sent back a string of fire emojis and kissing faces. I put the iPad back on the charger exactly where Richard had left it. The next 2 days were surgical. I met with David twice more. We filed papers but held them. I called my daughters separately, Emily first, then Catherine. I'd raised them to be strong women. They deserved to hear this from me. "Mom, no," Emily whispered. "Dad wouldn't. He loves you." "I have 6 months of messages and photos," I said calmly. "I need you to know because this is going to happen quickly, and I need you to be prepared." Catherine, always the fiercer of the two, said, "What do you need from us?" "Nothing yet. Stay close to your sister. This will be hard for both of you. Your father isn't who we thought he was, but he's still your father." On Saturday morning, Richard asked what time my book club was meeting. 1 o'clock, I said. "At Janet's house. We're doing an extended session. I'll probably be home around 5. He nodded, tried to hide his smile, failed. I packed my laptop bag like I was leaving, kissed his cheek. He barely registered it. He was already checking his phone. I drove around the block and parked 2 streets over, walked back through the neighbor's yard. We'd lived here for 30 years. I knew every shortcut. I let myself in through the back door quietly, went upstairs to the guest room that overlooked the front of the house. At 1:47 p.m., a white Tesla pulled into our driveway. She was tall, fit, obviously. The blue dress was short, very short. She checked her makeup in the car mirror before getting out, fluffed her hair. I watched her walk up our front path, the path I'd lined with lavender 20 years ago. She rang the doorbell. I went downstairs, opened the door. The look on her face was textbook. I'd seen that expression 1,000 times in my office. Students caught cheating on exams, teachers caught in lies. That moment when the world doesn't make sense anymore, when the person who shouldn't be there is standing right in front of you. "Hi," I said pleasantly. "You must be Sage." "I'm Margaret, Richard's wife." "Please, come in." She turned, started to walk back to her car. "I have 6 months of text messages," I said. "Photos, credit card receipts. A forensic accountant has already traced every penny my husband spent on you. I've filed for divorce. The papers will be served on Monday. You can leave now, or you can come inside and we can talk like adults. Your choice." She stopped, turned back slowly. Her face had drained of color. "I didn't," she started. "He said you didn't. He said things were over between you." "They are now," I said. "Come inside, Sage. You drove all the way here." She followed me in, stood in my entryway like a deer in headlights. I led her to the living room, sat in my chair, the one I'd nursed my babies in 40 years ago, the one I'd read thousands of books in. She perched on the edge of the couch like she might bolt. "How much did he tell you about me?" I asked. "He said you were roommates, basically, that you'd grown apart, that you'd agreed to stay married for appearances but lived separate lives." I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. We renewed our vows 2 years ago. We sleep in the same bed every night. We make love. Not as often as we used to, but we do. We have 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren. We're planning a trip to Italy next spring for our 40th anniversary. Or we were. She looked like she might be sick. Did he tell you about his heart surgery? I asked. 7 years ago, triple bypass. I slept in his hospital room for a week, helped him through cardiac rehab, changed his diet, probably saved his life. He said he lived alone, she whispered. This is his house, I said. Our house, the one we bought 30 years ago. See those photos on the mantle? Our wedding, our daughter's graduations, our grandchildren. See that Afghan on the back of the couch? I crocheted that during his cancer scare 12 years ago. It was benign, thankfully. But I sat up with him every night for weeks while we waited for results. I stood up, went to the bookshelf, pulled out a photo album. This is us in 1986. Our wedding. I was 25. He was 28. I'd just gotten my teaching certificate. He was finishing his residency. We were so young, so sure we'd be together forever. I showed her pages. Our first house, our first daughter, Emily, then Catherine 3 years later. This is us on vacation in Maui. This is his 50th birthday party. I planned it for 6 months. This is us at Emily's wedding. This is our granddaughter's christening. Tears were running down her face. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You knew he was married. You knew he was lying to someone. You just didn't care who. She sobbed, actual, ugly crying, mascara running down her face. How old are you, Sage? 32. I have shoes older than you, I said. I have a sourdough starter older than you. My youngest daughter is older than you. The front door opened. Richard's voice, Sage? Where are you? He came into the living room, saw both of us. The color drained from his face exactly like it had drained from hers. Margaret, he said. This isn't. Let me explain. Please do, I said. Explain to me how you've been fucking a woman young enough to be your granddaughter for 6 months. Explain the hotels, the jewelry, the lingerie. Explain how you used my volunteer days and my book club prep time to sneak around. Explain how you went to Cannon Beach with her the same weekend I was helping Emily through her miscarriage. He sat down heavily, put his head in his hands. Sage, you should go, I said. She stood up shakily. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I really didn't know it was like this. Yes, you did, I said again. But you're young. You'll learn. Men who cheat with you will cheat on you. That's a free life lesson. She practically ran out the door. Richard and I sat in silence. The house was so quiet, I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway, the one we'd gotten as a wedding gift from his parents. How long have you known? He finally asked. Since Thursday morning. When you forgot your iPad. Jesus, Margaret. Don't, I said. Don't you dare. You don't get to say my name like that. Like I'm the one who did something wrong. I can explain. I don't want your explanation. I want you to listen. I've filed for divorce. The papers will be served Monday morning. I have 6 months of evidence. Every text, every photo, every receipt. I have a forensic accountant tracking every penny. I've already transferred my portion of our savings to a separate account. My lawyer is David Chen. I suggest you get your own. We can work this out, he said. Margaret, please. 39 years. 39 years, I repeated. Do you know what I did 39 years ago? I married you in my mother's garden. I wore her wedding dress. I promised to love you forever. And I did. I loved you through your residency when you worked 100 hours a week and I barely saw you. I loved you through my miscarriages. 3 of them, Richard, before Emily finally took. I loved you through building your practice, through every hospital emergency, through your father's death, your mother's Alzheimer's, your heart surgery, your cancer scare. My voice was shaking now. Finally. The cold was cracking. I gave up a principal position in Lake Oswego because you didn't want to move. I turned down a superintendent opportunity in Eugene because you just started your practice here. I supported every single decision you made. I raised our daughters while you built your career, and I never complained. Not once. Because I loved you. Because that's what marriage is. He was crying now. I'm sorry. God, Margaret, I'm so sorry. You want to know what's funny? I said. I'm 64 years old. I've spent almost 40 years being your wife, being a mother, being a principal, being careful, being responsible, being the person everyone could count on. And you know what? I'm done being that person for you. I stood up, grabbed my purse. You have until Monday to decide what you want to take with you. I want you out of this house. I'll be at Emily's. David will contact you about the property division. I want the house. I want my full share of your pension and your retirement accounts. I want reimbursement for every penny you spent on that girl. This is my house too, he said weakly. Then we'll let the judge decide. But I have evidence of financial infidelity. You spent marital assets on an affair. I documented everything. You want to fight me? Go ahead. But I was a high school principal for 37 years. I dealt with teenagers trying to outsmart me every single day. You think you can win? I walked to the door, turned back. One more thing. I told Emily and Catherine. They know everything. They've seen the screenshots. So when you try to spin this as my fault, or a misunderstanding, or a midlife crisis, remember that your daughters know exactly what you did. His face crumbled. You told the girls? They deserve to know who their father really is. I drove to Emily's house. She opened the door and wrapped me in a hug. I finally cried, stood in my daughter's entryway and sobbed for everything I'd lost, for the life I'd thought I had, for the man I'd thought I'd married. But I also cried with relief, because I was free. After 64 years of being careful, of being good, of doing everything right, I was finally free. The divorce took 4 months. David was as good as Patricia had promised. Richard tried to fight initially, said I was being unreasonable, said we should go to counseling, said everyone deserved a second chance. The judge disagreed, especially when David presented 6 months of documented evidence and a forensic report showing Richard had spent over $40,000 of marital assets on his affair. I got the house. I got 70% of his retirement accounts and pension. I got a significant portion of his savings. The judge didn't look kindly on a cardiologist spending marital money on a woman 32 years younger than his wife. Richard moved into a condo downtown, near Sage's yoga studio, I heard. I didn't ask. I didn't care. My daughters struggled. Emily had trouble trusting her own husband for a while. Catherine stopped speaking to Richard for 6 months. But they're strong. I raised them to be. My book club friends rallied around me. Janet brought casseroles. Susan helped me clear out Richard's things. Linda went with me to file the final papers. Margaret Chen, born Margaret Walsh, married at 25, divorced at 64. It felt like closing a book I'd been reading my whole life. Like finally putting it down and realizing I could choose a different story. I joined a travel group for solo women travelers. We went to Portugal last fall. I'm planning a trip to New Zealand next spring. I'm learning Italian. I bought a kayak. I'm serving on the school board now. I started painting again, something I'd loved in college but given up because there was never time. There was time now. So much time. People ask if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd given him a second chance, if I think I was too cold, too calculated, too harsh. I think about that blue dress, about Sage standing on my front porch expecting my husband, about Richard's messages saying Margaret's away as if I were just an inconvenience to be worked around, about 39 years of marriage treated like nothing. No, I don't regret it. I regret trusting him. I regret those 6 months I didn't know. I regret the dreams I had for growing old together that he destroyed. But I don't regret taking control of my own story. I don't regret refusing to be a victim. I don't regret walking away with my dignity intact. Because here's what I learned. The most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is that we're too old to start over, that we've invested too much time to walk away. That loyalty and love mean accepting betrayal with grace. I was 64 when I discovered my husband's affair, 64 when I filed for divorce, 64 when I started my new life. And you know what? 64 is young. There's still so much life ahead of me. My granddaughter asked me last week if I was lonely. She's 8. Old enough to understand divorce, but young enough to think it's sad. No, sweetheart, I told her. I'm not lonely. I'm learning who I am without being someone's wife. And she's pretty interesting. Richard reached out on what would have been our 40th anniversary. A long email about regrets and mistakes and hoping we could be friends someday. I deleted it without responding. Some foundations, once they crack, can't be repaired. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you need to clear the rubble and build something entirely new, something stronger, something that's entirely yours. I sleep in the middle of the bed now. I paint in the morning. I travel when I want. I answer to no one. At 65, I'm having the adventure I should have had at 25. Better late than never.